good sitting position and sit tall. Bring your awareness to your breath. And gently increasing the length of the out breath. I invite you now, bring your hands to your heart, to ground and center ourselves. Open our practice this morning. We start with 3 ohms. Exhale. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Om. Open your eyes, release your hands, and the word of the day is noticing, which I thought I had here. Oh yeah. So here's here's something I just spotted this morning as I was reading. The range of what we think and do is limited by what we fail to notice. And because we fail to notice, there is little we can do to change until we notice how failing to notice shapes our thoughts and deeds. So some of you may know I was on a walk last weekend, and I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine who's had a tough time over lockdown, resulting in her putting on 4 stone in weight. And her words to me were, I failed to notice. I failed to notice what was going on. But now she's completely obsessed by this. And she wouldn't have been a person associated with carrying weight formerly, So it's what we fail to notice. So yesterday I was working on spreadsheets, and I had 14 different spreadsheets in relation to my yoga teacher training next year. And in many occasions, the mistakes on the spreadsheet were my failure to notice the detail, that instead of being a half an hour, it was 1.5 hours, and it was, of course, messing with my number along the bottom line. If any of you have ever worked with spreadsheets, you know what I'm talking about, and it was doing my head in. And independently, I had arrived at this idea of failing to notice, and then of course nothing is coincidental. This thing pops up in a reading this morning from me about failing to notice. So in your practice this morning, never mind what you're noticing, see if you can notice what you're failed to noticing and then bring that off your mat and out into your life and see how that impacts for you. So let's make a start. Come into child's pose. Come onto your hands and knees, heels together, and sit back on your heels. Stretch your arms out. Arms active, grip the floor at your fingertips, elbows off the floor. Invite your head to come to the floor, and if it doesn't, you can pop a cushion under your head. Walk your hands back, coming upright, heels together, knees together. If it's available to you, certainly heels together. Sit back in your heels, torso upright. Lift your arms overhead, clasp your hands together, and press your palms towards the ceiling. Move your arms into the back plane. And of course, if it's uncomfortable for you to sit like this, you could sit a different way with your legs crossed and do the same. Engage your core, not splaying out your ribs. Move your ears back. Arms active, engage your biceps. Shoulder blades on your back. And release your hands to the floor and make your way onto your belly. Coming into locust. 1. Stretch legs out, stretch arms out by your sides, backs of your hands on the floor, squeeze your heels together, inner shins, inner thighs, engage your quads, engage your glutes, lift your head and shoulders off the floor, press the backs of your hands into the floor. Come back into down dog, place your hands under your shoulders, turn your toes under, walk your knees back one hand's pace, turn your toes under, lift your hips up. More doable, feet hip width apart. Grip the floor with your fingertips. Press the inner edges of your hands down. Externally rotate your upper arms so that your biceps are turning towards the front end of your mat. Keeping that, lift your hips even higher. Melt your heart. Press the backs of your knees away from you. Invite your heels to come towards the floor. Turn your sit bones up. Look at a point between your thumbs. And then switch your weight onto your left foot and lift your right foot forward. Coming into down dog lunge. Front shin is vertical. Hands are wider than shoulder width apart. Then walk your hands forward towards the left hand corner of your mat. Press your toes of your back foot into the floor. Lift your heel to vertical. Lift the back of your back knee up. Allow your head to drop, look back towards your toes. Press the floor away from you. And switch feet. Front foot back, back foot forward, front shin is vertical. Walk hands towards the right hand corner of your mat, hands wider than shoulders. Lift back heel up to vertical, lift back of back knee up. Front, drop your head, look back towards your back foot. And then step your back foot to join your front foot. Keep your knees bent. Bring your ribs to your thighs. Line up your fingernails with your toenails. And again, feet together, more doable. Feet inner hip width apart. Feet together, more difficult. Feet inner hip width apart, more doable. Pressing the heel of your hands towards the floor. Straighten your arms. Press the backs of your knees away from you. Inhale, place your hands on your hips, squeeze your elbows back, shoulder blades on your back, press down, stand up. Moving into Tadasana. Press down equally with both feet into the floor, flare your toes, squeeze your ankles together, your shins, your inner thighs. Engage your core, broaden across your collarbones. Move your ears back, stretch arms down, stretch fingers down. Engage your glutes. Even out your breathing. Inhale your arms up, clasp your hands together and, bring the tips of your fingers together. More doable, clasp your hands together and point your index finger, yogi's choice. Move your hips to the right, your torso to the left, be as sideways as possible. Engage your glutes. Just check that your bottom arm is active. Inhale back up and switch to the other side. Inhale back to center. Place your hands on your hips, squeeze your elbows back, bend your knees, sink down, and sit back in your throne. Then lower your hands to the floor, knees bent, ribs to thighs. Place the heel of your hands on the floor so that your knees are that bent. You could also use blocks, don't forget. And then keeping that, begin to straighten your knees by pressing the backs of your knees away from you. Squeeze ankles, shins and your thighs towards each other. Engage your core. Straighten your arms. And walk your hands forward, knees bent, come into half forward fold so your back is straight, and just lift your gaze slightly and look out on the floor in front of you. Inhale, place hands on hips, squeeze your elbows back, press down, stand up and walk to the back of your mat, moving into high lunge, hands on hips. Squeeze your elbows back, step forward with attitude and intention with your right foot. Lift your front shin is vertical, knee is over ankle. Lift your back heel up to vertical, lift the back of your back knee up. Torso upright, squeeze your elbows back, and then rooting down into the floor, sink down, lift your gaze. Lower to the floor and switch your front foot back, your back foot forward. Hands on your hips, press down, stand up, torso upright, squeeze your elbows back, lift the back of your back knee up. Lower all the way to the floor and come onto your back. Coming into reclined lunge or half happy baby. So you've just done this on your feet, standing up. Now you're doing it on your back, except you're using your hands. Your front shin is vertical. The sole of your foot is parallel to the ceiling. Move your knee out towards the right hand side of your mat. Both hands on your foot. Push through the left heel, flex and flare your toes, press the back of your left thigh into the floor, shoulder blades on your back, press your head into the floor. Push up with your right foot into your hands. Release that foot to the floor and switch over to the other side. Curl your left knee in, clasp the foot and repeat. Release that foot to the floor and make your way onto your hands and knees. Moving into crouching monkey. I'll face the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Right foot forward, front shin is vertical. Place your hands on the floor and bring your right hand to the outside, to the little toe side of your right foot. Line up your fingernails with your toenails. Bend your elbows. More doable, and then stretch your back leg out behind you and press the top of your back foot into the floor. So you're, to all intents and purposes, as if you're moving, lowering into plank. And just look out ahead, you on the floor. So your back leg is nearly straight. Press it down, flare your toes. Press down with all the points that are on the floor into the floor. Lift your armpits. Switch feet. Front foot back, back foot forward. Bring your left hand to the outside, the little toe side of your front foot. Stretch your back leg behind you, lower down. Just gaze out on the floor in front of you. And make your way back into child's pose. And this time, ankles together, knees apart, arms by your sides, head to the floor, turn your palms up, sink down. Press the backs of your hands into the floor, come to your breath. From here, make your way to standing. And coming into extended side angle. Step your feet wide apart. Turn your right foot out. You might like to use a block here. Bend your right knee and either place your elbow on the top of your knee with your palm turned up, or your hand on the floor or on a block. Place your left hand on your hip. Make sure your front heel bisects the arch of the back foot. Press down with your back foot into the floor. Engage your quad. Roll your left hip back, your left ribs back. Lift your top arm up to vertical or keep your hand on your hip. Press down with your front foot into the floor. Press your right hand into the floor. And then make yourself as buoyant as possible even though you're pressing down into the floor. Lower your hand, straighten your front knee. Inhale, press down, stand up and switch to the other side. Turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out. Again, set up your foundation that your heel is bisecting the arch of the back foot. Inhale your arms up, bend your left knee, lean forward, place your hand either on the floor, on the block, or your forearm on your thigh. Then press your back foot into the floor, tighten your quad, your back knee, roll your right hip back, your right ribs back. Hand can be on your hip, elbow pointed towards the ceiling, or lift your top hand, arm up. Hand should be over shoulder. Engage your biceps. Make your hand active. Draw your left hip underneath, draw your right hip back. Lower your top hand, straighten your front knee, press down, stand up, and pivot to the other end of the mat. Turn your left foot in, turn your right foot out. Moving into Trikonasana, and again you might like to use a block here. Inhale your arms up, hands in line with shoulders, keeping that. Bend your right knee again so that your front shin is vertical. Knee over ankle. Glance down at your front foot and can you see the first two toes of your front foot. At the same time, keeping your torso in the middle of your hips. Lean forward, place your hand on the floor or on a block, place your top hand on your hip, and gently begin to straighten your front knee. Roll your press down with your back foot into the floor, tighten your quad, roll your left hip back, your left ribs back, and lift your top arm up or keep your hand on your hip. Engage the quad of the front foot, press the front foot into the floor, Draw your right hip underneath, or your right buttock, sorry. Lower your top hand, bend your front knee, inhale, press down, stand up and pivot to the other end of the mat. Turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out, lift your arms, bend your knee, lean forward, place your hand on the floor, place your top hand on your hip, then gently start to straighten your front knee, moving into Trikonasana. Hand under shoulder, press your back foot into the floor, roll your right ribs back, your right shoulder back, lift top hand, arm up to vertical. Engage your quads, come to your breath. Lower your top hand, bend your front knee, inhale, press down, stand up, and moving into no hand lunge. Pivot your left foot in, your right foot out, bend your right knee, knee over ankle, keeping that, clasp your hands behind your back, bend your elbows, place your thumb on your sacrum, keep that, squeeze your shoulder blades together on your back, root down equally with both feet into the floor, then hinge forward. Bring your upper body to the inside of your front knee, and then in your own time, stretch your knuckles up towards the ceiling. More doable, wrists apart, more difficult, wrists together. And then arms go to vertical or beyond vertical. Allow your head to drop, press your back foot into the floor, press your front foot into the floor, come to your breath. And what are you not noticing about your practice? And how might this become a talking point for you in the future, or something that you will mull over? Lower your hands to your thumbs to your sacrum, come out of the pose the way you went into it, straighten your front knee, turn your right foot in, turn your left foot out, bend your front knee, knee over ankle, lift your chest, stretch your spine, and then hinging forward, lower your upper body to the inside of your front knee, press your back foot into the floor, engage your quad or your back leg, stretch your knuckles up, separate, or more doable, wrists apart, more difficult, wrists together. Lower your hands, straighten your front knee, press down, stand up, turn your left foot in, and step or jump your feet together. And then come and lie down on your back, moving into recline, bowing sage. You might like to use a strap here, yogi's choice. Bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips. Press down with your left foot into the floor, curl your right knee in and clasp your right foot. Now might be the time to use the strap, okay? Stretch your leg up and press the back of your knee away from you. Make your right foot active, flex and flare your toes, push your heel away, draw your toes back, press the back of your knee away from you, push up through your hands and at the same time draw the whole leg towards you. Engage your core, shoulder blades on your back. Bend your knee, lower your foot to the floor and switch over onto the other leg. Excuse me. Curl your left knee in, clasp your foot and stretch your leg up. Press the back of your knee away from you. Lower that foot to the floor and make your way to sitting. Moving into interrupt you here. They've started to cut silage in the field beside me, so it could get really noisy in a minute. So we'll just see how we get on. Okay. Bend your knees, bring your heels close to your hips. Clasp the outside edges of your feet with your hands. Lean back a tad and lift your heels off the floor. If it's available to you, lift your right leg up, lift your left leg up. Could be your shins only come to here, and that's fine. Just practicing your balance. See, can you be at peace at a place of when your balance or equilibrium is challenged. Or stretch your right leg up, your left leg up. More doable, legs wide apart. Push through your heels, flex and flare your toes. And then the final bit of this pose, if it's available to you, is ankles together, knees together. Lift your chest, look up. Engage your quads. Bend your knees, lower your heels to the floor. And moving into twisted sage. Come and sit on your right hip, knees together, ankles together. And place the top of your left foot so it bisects the arch of the lower right foot. Keep that. Place your right hand on your left knee. Keep that. Lift your left arm out to the side, turn your thumb down. Bring it around your back and bring it up your back as far as you can. So the back of your hand is on your back. Then roll your left shoulder back, your left ribs back. Look over your front shoulder. Press down with your sit bones into the floor. Engage your core, sit tall. And release and switch to the other side. Sit on your left hip, knees together, ankles together. Place the top of your, the sole of your right foot bisects the arch of the left foot. Place your left hand on your right knee. Lift your right arm out to the side, turn your thumb down, bring it around your back, place the back of your hand on your back. Bring it up as high up your back as you can. Then roll your right shoulder back, your right ribs back, but look over your front shoulder. Press your sit bones into the floor, sit tall. If you're falling over in this pose, use a block to prop yourself up. And release, moving into cow face pose. Keep your left knee bent with your heel at your upper inner thigh and cross your right leg over so that your knees are stacked. This is the more difficult part of this position. More doable, of course, is to stretch your left leg out in front of you. So choose wisely. Make your feet active, push through your heels, flex and flare your toes. Inhale your arms up, exhale hinge forward, place your hands on the floor. Come up onto the tops of your fingers. And on every inhalation stretching forward, and over every exhalation sinking down into the floor. Working the activity of your feet, pressing the sit bones into the floor. Engage your core. Shoulder blades on your back. Just look beyond your fingers a bit. Inhale, walk your hands back and switch the cross of your legs. And again, the bottom leg can be straight or knees stacked with knees bent. Flex and flare your toes, press your sit bones into the floor. Inhale up to expand, exhale forward. Inhale, stretching forward, exhale, sinking down. Keeping the activity of your feet going, keeping the sit bones pressing into the floor, keeping your core engaged. Inhale back to center. Switch the cross of your legs again. Making your feet active. And so I have my left knee on top. So I go to the opposite arm. I'm lifting it up, bending it, bringing it down my back. Lift my right arm out to the side, thumb down, bring it all the way down, and clasp my hands behind my back, grab my fingers, or use a strap. Torso upright, press your sit bones into the floor, feet active, hug the midline, engage your core. Lift your gaze. Release that and switch to the other side. Switch the cross of your legs, switch your arms. So whatever leg is on top, the opposite arm goes up first. Press your sit bones into the floor. Sit tall, engage your core. And come and lie on your back again, and we're coming into eagle pose. Eagle on our back, so bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips. Lift your right leg, cross it over your left leg, and take the double wrap. If the double wrap is not available for you, outside shin to outside shin is fine. Keeping that, bend your knees, bring your knees into your chest. And then lift the left arm and wrap the right underneath. Or simply bring your elbows together, your palms together. Forearms parallel to the ceiling. Squeeze your knees in closer, hug the midline. Come to your breath. Engage your core. Switch the cross of your legs, your arms. Moving to the other side. Make your feet active, curl your knees in. Release that and make your way to standing, coming into reverse mudra. So back bend first, standing towards the back of your mat. Place your hands behind you as if from prayer. More doable, hands down the waist. More difficult, hands up the waist. Endeavouring to keep the base of your hands together in whichever you choose for your body. Then step forward with your right foot, turn your left foot out so that it's sort of a 30-degree angle. Ideally, line up your heels with each other. But some people find this a little bit unbalancing, so it's okay to move your right foot out towards the right hand side of your mat. Keep that. Press down with your feet into the floor, flare your toes, engage your glutes, bend your right knee, lean forward and bring your ribs to your right thigh. Move your hands up your back as far as you can, squeeze your elbows towards each other, shoulder blades on your back, then begin to straighten your front knee to wherever is comfortable for you. Bend your front knee, press down, stand up, keep your feet where they are, keep squaring towards the front end of your mat, lift your chest, look up, engage your glutes, look at the ceiling, and go as far as is comfortable for you. Keep squeezing your shoulder blades together on your back. Inhale, press down, stand up, keep your hands where they are, switch your feet, front foot forward, no, back foot forward, front foot back, line up your heels, square towards the front edge of your mat, Bend your front knee, lean forward, connect your ribs to your thigh. When you get there, begin to straighten your front knee, engage your glutes, engage your core. Engage your quads, engage your core. Bend your front knee, press down, stand up, square towards the front of the mat, and then lift your upper back bend. Now engage your glutes and your quads. Inhale back to center, release your arms down, step your feet together, and you might want to move your hands, your wrists a little bit. You might feel a little bit wonky after that. Moving into squat pose, separate your feet wide enough to allow you to come down all the way down so that your heels are on the floor. If this is not available for you, roll up the back of your mat or the edge of your mat and use that to support your heels. Then, keeping that, stretch your hands, arms forward, squeeze your inner knees into your core, engage your core, and then allow your head to drop. And from here, we'll try a little bit of crane pose. So you're at home, it's a good opportunity to grab a big cushion and place it in front of you. Place your hands on the floor, separate your fingers. Bend your elbows, squeeze your knees into your upper arms, elbows. Lean forward, keeping one foot off the floor, lift one foot, and then lift the other. Squeeze your heels together, squeeze your knees. If it's available to you, straighten your arms even more, lift your hips, squeeze your knees, your heels in closer. And lower down. Moving into foot to hand pose. Come into forward fold, keeping your knees bent. Feet inner hip width apart. Lift the toes off the floor and slide the palms of your hands underneath. Backs of your hands on the floor. The palms of your hands should be so far underneath your feet that your toes are either touching your wrist or halfway up your wrist. Keeping that, allow your head to drop. Keeping your ribs connected, press the backs of your knees away from you. Release your hands and lower down onto the floor. Coming into Cobra. Cobra with legs lifted. Place your hands by your sides, forearms are vertical. Your hands are at your bikini line if you wore a bikini. Keep them in close, squeeze your elbows together, shoulder blades on your back. Inner heels together. Ankles, shins, inner thighs, keep that, lift your legs off the floor, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Engage your glutes, lift your chest, look forward. Keep squeezing your elbows towards each other. Lower down. This time keeping your legs on the floor, flare your toes, coming through the gateway of your arms, as if you were drawing your lower body forward. Press down, inhale, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Engage your glutes. Squeeze your heels together. And then straight back into child's pose, heels together. Knees together or apart, and then move your hands out to the left, hands shoulder width apart. Sink back in your heels, head to the floor. Arms active. And then walk your hands all the way around to the left, keeping them shoulder width apart, head to the floor. back to centre and make your way to sitting. Moving into staff pose. Stretch your legs out in front of you. Make your feet active. Push through your heels, flex and flare your toes. Place your hands by your hips. Press the heel of your hands into the floor. Sitting upright, engage your core. Squeeze your ankles, inner shins, inner thighs together. Engage your quads, move your ears back. Lift your chest. And then we move into seated angle pose. So stretch your right leg out to the side, stretch your left leg out to the side, and just take your hand on your upper right thigh and move it towards the floor. Just rotate it around. Take your hand on your left thigh and do the same. And place your hands behind you. Grab your buttocks and pull them out so your sit bones are really connected to the floor. You might like to use blocks here. Make your feet active. Push through the heels, draw the toes back, engage your quads. And then hinging forward, lower down onto your elbows. Look out on the floor in front of you. Tighten your quads. Inhale, press down, stand up. And then place your hands on the inside of your knees and just draw them in towards each other until the soles of your feet come together. And pressing the soles of your feet together in a line from your little toe all the way to the outside edge of your right and left foot. And open the top of them like a book. So they're opening up like so. Keeping that, clasp your ankles, press down into the floor, stretch your spine. Hinge forward. Press your elbows into your knees into your elbows. Keep pressing the lower edges of your feet together. You might like to grab your toes then, and then keep pressing your feet together. Engage your core. Inhale back up. And come and lie on your back, coming into happy baby. Sometimes it's nice to use a strap here, it's up to yourself. Lie on your back, bend your knees. Clasp the outside edges of your feet with your hands. Turn the soles of your feet so that they're parallel to the ceiling. Your shins should be vertical. Keeping that, drawing down on the soles of your feet. And push up with the soles of your feet into your hands. Shoulder blades on your back. Back of your head into the floor. Holding your feet, stretch them up, bring your ankles together, your knees together, more doable, hip width apart, keeping your feet active, drawing your legs down, keeping them connected to your thighs, keeping your thighs connected to your ribs, press the backs of your knees away from you, soften your elbows, rolling your inner thighs towards each other, your inner shins. Engage your quads, engage your core. Flex and flare your feet. And gently release your feet to the floor and moving into thread the needle. Place your heels on the floor in front of your hips. Lift your right foot and bring the outside edge of your right foot to your left knee. And this may be as far as you want to go. Or bring your left knee into your chest, thread your hands between your legs, make both feet active, shins parallel to the ceiling. And switch the cross of your legs. Lift your outside edge of your left foot, place it on your right knee, and bring your right knee in. And now curling both knees into your chest, give yourself a gentle, loving, kindly hug. And preparing yourself for relaxation, but we're going to do a little bit of breathing first before we come into relaxation. So, if you wish to put on something to keep you warm, and then bend your knees, place your heels in front of your hips, and walk your feet out towards the long edges of the mat so that your knees are leaned comfortably against each other. Place the palms of your hands down on your lower abdominal area, index fingers pointing towards pubic bone, thumbs pointing towards navel, and just ease out your breathing. And on your next inhalation, and when you breathe out again, focusing on your lower abdominal area only. And we'll take 10 breaths just breathing into the lower abdominal area only. Really very little movement in your ribs, very little movement in your upper chest. So off we go. Returning to normal breathing on your next exhalation, and take 5 normal breaths. Now move your hands up to your rib cage just below your bikini line, and tips of your fingers just touching. Exhale completely, and inhale and breathing into the rib cage area only, using the power of your breath to move your ribs out to the sides. It's only the breath that's causing the movement. I'm taking 10 breaths here. your next exhalation, return to normal breathing and take 5 normal breaths. And now moving into relaxation, stretch your arms out, stretch your legs out, making yourself as comfortable as possible. Perhaps covering yourself with a blanket if you have one. And as you exhale out, just extending the out breath by a beat, maybe 1 second or 2 seconds, maybe holding it out. And in no way should your breath be stressed. Visualize your body sinking into the floor. Feeling the sensation of the surface that supports you. Feeling the sensation of the cool air on your face, arms, hands and feet. What's present for you right now, without engaging in the story, welcome everything that's there. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs. Remembering that is all that they are, and that you are more than this. And might you notice a space between the thoughts, or indeed the space between the in-breath and the out-breath. Moving from the internal to the external, your body breathing itself. Asking yourself, who is it that is aware? what is it that is aware? Awareness breathing itself. Just this. Begin to deepen your breathing. You can stay here now, or start to move your hands, your feet. You might like to give yourself a stretch. Bending your knees, rolling to one side, press your hands down and come to sitting. I invite you to bring your hands to your heart. One last time, turn in. To honour ourselves, each other and the practice, we close with one Om. Exhale, inhale. Thanks for practicing, thanks for coming to practice, and we'll see you all again soon. See you on the mat.